if they get the chance. They were born in bloody circumstance. To go, leave me, run like you've never run before. A voice from the underground, given room to breathe, not be drowned. So die if you get the chance. Better men than you've been left to stand. So go, leave me, run like you've never run before. I have seen the worst, and there is nothing left for me to hate, so I can lay me down, my brothers, on the ground. I bled today until Coyote comes to raise me up and carries me away. To go, leave me, run like you never did. No, believe me, run like you never run before.
Good evening, ladies and jelly beans. Welcome to the Scottish Rugby Podcast. It is myself, John Anderson, at the helm. It has been forever since I feel like I've been on this podcast. So I might be a bit match rusty, might drop a few balls, drop a few passes. Who knows what's going to happen tonight? But we'll do our best to give you a good show tonight. I am joined by none other, and again, it feels like ages since I've seen you as well, Ian. Ian Hay, welcome.
Hello, I've just timed finishing my dinner perfectly. Hello everyone.
good.
Hello, John.
Oh,
Yeah, we've
hello,
not been on
Ian.
for ages. Certainly. Have we spoken otherwise on social medias? I mean, obviously on social media. Have we crossed paths? I don't think we have we?
We've not crossed paths,
Not for
but
a
we've
while.
conversed on the social medias.
Yes.
And obviously we are part of the same group chat behind the scenes for this pod.
And we may have been in this. We may have frequented the same sauna from time to time.
Oh, well, yes, of course, right. And watch as the number of viewers at this point leave. Our goal tonight is not to get sued,
Skyrockets.
because obviously we've had a wee bit of social media drama earlier on with the podcast, which was a bit bizarre.
Didn't we? Jeez, oh.
I
I was just coming back from my car's been acting up for a bit, and I managed to squeeze it in at the mechanic. Mechanic up the road seems to like me.
I don't know why.
Well, I said I've seen him in Domino's, so he's thinking free pizzas. Yes,
Exactly. Yeah.
got that fixed pretty sharpish. Took it for a spin, obviously, to give it a burrow round because I was having some power lag. Get back, like key in the door, like all right, phone it just while I check what's going on, see if Rona's messaged me. But Scottish Rugby podcast has been unpublished. What?
Yeah, yeah. So those of you that don't
6
know,
minutes prior to me getting in my door.
yeah, we managed the Facebooks did not like us earlier on, and we got unpublished. On appeal, we have been republished. Everything seems okay. We don't know the reason behind it because, of course, social media is a murky beast that doesn't give you information. But we're here.
The key word they've used is misrepresentation, and we don't know if they mean like of what exactly is it because of Scottish Rugby podcast. Is it too close to being? Are we the official Scottish Rugby Union podcast? No, we're just Scottish and talk about rugby sometimes, or maybe it's
And
the
do a
fact that we don't
podcast.
talk about rugby much.
Maybe
Like
that's
this
the
is
misrepresentation.
misrepresentation. It's not about rugby. It's more about meal deals and the
I
hairiness of scrotums.
I would absolutely love if some poor little Facebook employee has had to listen to our podcast to determine whether it's, you know,
There's a ratio. There's like a BMI. Like you have to be
do you
in the
reckon
green zone.
sitting with a tally marker, like, oh, they've mentioned rugby, oh, you know, and you have to. What would the metric be? So is it RM per minute? So rugby mentions per minute.
RPMs, rugby's per minutes. Yeah.
Rugby's per minutes. There we go. RPMs. That might also misrepresent based on some other metrics. So hopefully, don't sue us. Right. If you're joining us for the first time, welcome. You poor thing. Those of you probably joining us are regulars, but you'll know fine well what this is all about. But if you feel like you want to go and support us a wee bit more, you can head over, first of all, to scottishrugbyblog.co.uk, where there's some absolutely brilliant articles, latest news, views on Scottish Rugby. You can also visit patreon.com/Scottish Rugby Podcast. This is all down the bottom if you're watching this live, where you can subscribe for exclusive content. It'll cost you £3 a month, or if you're feeling super flush, you can even upgrade to £5 a month, and we might even read your name out on the podcast. I always forget to do it, but we need to. We will endeavour. We will make sure that happens this time. You can also follow us over. See, I'm just clicking things here. This is because I'm out of practice, right? You can also follow us on Facebook at Scottish Rugby Podcast, where we almost got shut down.
One handling error.
Twitter at Scottish Rugby Pod, YouTube Scottish Rugby Blog, and on Twitch. I did see last week you were debating the concept of where people get their podcasts these days, but you can find us on all important and wonderful podcast platforms if you look hard enough. Is that the sales pitch done?
I think so.
Cool.
Yeah.
I reckon so. I reckon we've sales pitch. Right, tonight we are going to talk about World Cup warm-ups. That's right. It is Scotland, Italy, and obviously we've got Scotland, France this weekend. First of all, we'll talk about Scotland, Italy first, Ian. Scotland. First hit out of the summer, right? So season ended quite a while ago. Rusty performance from what you would say maybe the second team. Might be fair to say. Also, what was your gut feeling on it? What did you take away from it?
Ben Healy's got a hell of a boot. Was the main thing that I took from it.
Does
It's a multi-versatile. It's a very versatile boot as well.
I thought you were going for it's a multiverse of boot.
But, oh no, I've had it. I've had it with multiverses. Other than that, see, I was working, so I've only seen the second half for the first time today. I've rewatched the first half, or should I say, relived the first half because it was dire, wasn't it?
It was pretty bad, wasn't it?
Yeah. I think the main thing we can say is defence has looked good. Defence coaches will be happy if Ali Price made an error within 40 seconds, which put Scotland on the back foot. Defended that solidly, and we were under pressure for a good sort of 5-10 minutes, I'd say. So our scramble D's looking good, set piece looked all right, but it was pretty boring. And Peter, no, stop it with the seagulls. We'll
Yeah,
come to that.
we will come to the seagull chat in a minute, Peter. Just for those of you watching live, it's a seagull's world, and we're just living in it. We will come to the seagulls in a second. I think it's interesting you touched on Ali Price error within 40 seconds. Let's come to that and concentrate on that stuff just now. It was a rusty performance. It was a performance from people that haven't played much rugby in the last 2 months, give or take, if not a wee bit longer in some cases. The exceptions being Healy and Darcy Graham. I think everyone looked rusty. Everyone looked off the pace slightly. But the reaction to that has, like the reaction from social media and the reaction from fans, I think has been a bit disproportionate to a World Cup warm-up, like first hit out.
Well,
Do you know what I
surprisingly
mean?
enough, John, I've tried to avoid looking at what Scottish rugby fans' responses are. No, from what I've seen, well, the circle of agreement that I've been looking with for, everyone knows it would have been rusty. I thought it's quite a. There's not a lot of zazz in the team in the backs when you look at it. You know, we know Harris, even though he's been, absolute stalwart, was a lion and had plenty of credit in the bank. But when Huey Piloto came along, Greg Townsend was like, you know what, Chris, thanks, but at the moment, this is the better player to have at 13. Yep. So yeah, it was maybe a chance because it's about filling out those. I think the first 15, which is pretty much what we're getting on Saturday.
We're getting the vast majority of it.
Yeah, I think that's obviously like penned in, and then it is just these last filler spots. Is it going to be Harris or McDowell or I can't even think of the other centres. I'm actually looking for the 41-man squad at the moment. But yeah, there wasn't a lot to sort of write home about in terms of attack and play. Obviously, the weather got a bit rubbish beforehand. It was the same. I was at the Bills game. That's why I missed the second half. I had to drive down to Ayr in my knackered car. And that was the same just before kick-off. It just absolutely started launching down for 25 minutes. It was rubbish.
The weather was pretty bad, wasn't it? And it was interesting hearing afterwards them talking about how they've been training in the sunshine, so they're not used to the rain in Scotland. Come on, guys. Pull the other one.
There needs to be some kind of like ointment invented that can stick to. No, that's cheating, though, isn't it?
Yeah, no, we wouldn't get away with that, Ian. We've been banned from Facebook once today, mate. Let's not.
That's a wee bit sticky sweets in the pocket on a cricket ball.
Or deflated balls in American football. So we'll talk a bit about right. So obviously, it was for me. It was such a strange game. So I watched it in two parts as well because I was gigging on Saturday. So I came back a little bit drunk and started to watch it and then passed out after 30 minutes because it wasn't terribly exciting. We've mentioned the standouts. I think Ben Healy looked very, very secure, very solid, great kicking option. Darcy Graham was the standout by a mile for me, though I don't understand how he didn't get man of the match other than getting utterly skinned senseless by Ione at one point, which was...
He has some player though. Did he not top like meters gained or defenders beaten in the URC a couple of years ago?
You've got to accept sometimes good players will skin each other.
Well, sometimes I wish that's the thing rugby fans need to realise is that not every player is perfect, and good ones will. Like when Doohan had a bit of a bad one against, Matt Hansen had him in host, didn't he?
Aye.
Right? Aye. Doesn't mean Doohan's a bad player. Doohan breaks records wherever he goes. Breaks records and hearts wherever he goes.
He breaks my heart every time I see him. But you're right, Matt Hansen's a very talented player, and that's the thing. Like, we always get caught up in this, like, why are our players not doing this, that, and this? It's like,
why aren't we beating the ranked #1 team in the world? What's wrong with Scottish rugby?
Because we have 15 other players trying to make sure we're not doing that, all with their own strengths and weaknesses. Funny that. But certainly the first half in particular, there was blighted by a few mistakes. It was a strange game because it felt so much closer. Like, Italy were playing well. Obviously with this new style of Italian rugby they have, where they seem to it's like Glasgow Max that they're playing, where it's just like every ball has to get shipped wide and off we go. But it was a B squad, Ian. And do you think there's anyone in that team that put their hand up?
The Italy squad, the Scotland squad.
The Scotland squad, sorry.
Well, yeah, because that's the thing. Like, Italy wasn't.
Italy.
Yeah, Italia Rugby Podcast. Forza Italia.
Forza Italia.
Yeah, because I think it wasn't a full strength Italian team as well. Obviously, big names missing, probably Lamaro, Brex. I'm a big fan of Brex and Garbisi. Christ, which you would never forget if I've forgotten Garbisi. I don't know, from the second string, I don't think so. Another good performer I thought was Matt Fagerson, as per usual.
That's interesting. That's interesting you say that, because that hasn't necessarily come through to the rank and file of the Scottish rugby fans.
Do you agree with them?
Oh, I disagree with him wholeheartedly.
All right.
That's standard for me.
Like, for me, he's like become almost the cornerstone of the pack. It doesn't matter where you stick him at 6 or 8. This guy's just a workhorse. He won, I think, 3 turnovers.
Yeah.
One of which led to a really good counter-attacking opportunity. When Ollie Smith hacked one on and Darcy Gray went after it like a whippet.
That's right.
Dragging.
Charge down, yeah.
Stuff like that, he just goes about his business. There was one defensive scrum we had to deal with. He picked up from the base and carried hard.
Yeah,
he's got such a good skill set as 8 or 6. We've got so many options. That back row options we have is it's like the cast of Oppenheimer. It's that good.
I would go as far as to say if Matt Fagerson was an All Black, he'd be in discussions for one of the best in the world. And that, I know that sounds like crazy talk, but he has the basic skill set. He does everything right.
He does everything turbo
all the time.
I remember when he was coming in, and Ryan Wilson, who I had been a bit of a fan of, as a freeze on field antics in particular, not always the mouth, the actual playing part, because he's a nuisance. And I was like, Matt Fagerson does that at a younger age and faster. And now as Fagerson's getting older, he's just doing it turbo style. He's in great form at the moment. And it's hard to imagine leaving him out. It's like, who do you leave out? You've got Darge, Watson, Ritchie, Dempsey, Matt Fagerson.
Well, let's talk about Rory Darge just now. So first cap as captain, playing at 7. Obviously, a lot of responsibility on him at such a young age, but also he's clearly been identified very early doors as a leader. How do you think he went?
Relatively quiet by his standards, because usually it's all, you notice him smashing breakdowns, winning the ball back, or getting onto breaks. He's always a good off the shoulder option. But because there was a lack of cohesion in attack, you didn't really get to see much of that attacking side of him. Quiet but effective is how I would say him and Crosby were.
Yeah, I would agree completely with you. I think Crosby in particular, I thought he put his hand up. I thought he was really solid. There's Crosby's club form has been outstanding for a couple of years, and there's been such a clamour for him to make that step up. I'm going to upset a few people here. It does feel a little bit like we've had this before with Scottish back rows, where it's like, he should
Rob
come in.
Harley in particular, possibly.
Rob Harley. We had Roddy Grant back in the day as well. You know, we've had Chris Pizarro is another one that's
I
always
think
had.
Crosby's had some quietly effective games, and he's a bit younger. I don't want to write him off, and I'm just trying to appease everyone because we're going to get in the neck here, John, because it's two Glasgow fans.
I'm not writing him off at all.
Especially you.
I do have a history for this. So I'm not writing him off at all. I just don't think. I think he's right. So this is me saying this
It's very fast when he gets going, but he didn't really get
much to work.
I've really seen him as much of an attacking set. How many Scotland caps has he got now? Are we in double figures yet?
No, not at all. We are on. Let's go. We're going to have a wee look while we talk. I think Luke Crosby is a fabulous player, and I think he's just taking his time to get up to speed with international. We're on 5 caps, by the way.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think that's fair.
He's taking his time to get up to speed with international rugby, and I think that's absolutely brilliant.
He's older than I thought, but he's older than I thought. But that's because there's such a logjam of quality.
Yeah, 26.
I think we're not even like Andy Christie, Tom Gordon.
Yep.
Ali Miller.
Ali Miller, who has went to Glasgow and has vanished into the lesser spotted, Jared Firth concept. He is no longer like I think Ali Miller might actually not be a real person anymore. I think he's a made up squad name. Like if you put a fake name down when you're playing a team and you're like, oh, we need this boy to play, but he's not registered. Trialist. Yeah, I think that's what's happening with him. So I think the back row, yeah, it was a tough one for them. Let's talk about the props. Now, I know we're clearly not in our specialist area here, Ian, right? Both of us, highly tuned athletes here.
Somebody's driving back from rugby training at extreme speed now, if they're listening to this live.
Yeah, he heard the P word and he's like, whoa, here we go. So, we had Rory Sutherland, George Turner, and Murphy Walker as our starting props. I thought, and this hurts me deeply to say this, I thought the scrum improved markedly when Javan Sebastian came on. Now, I don't know if that's Javan's fault or if that is the Italian substitutions, but the scrum was night and day. We were probably second best with that front row to start with. And things improved.
It wasn't just that. Your pal Jamie Batty came on as well.
Well, it was a horrible front row to bring on from my perspective. I've given Batty absolute hell for. Said Stuart McInally is a clearly a novelty pick and shouldn't be anywhere near the squad.
Nostalgia.
And Javan is and Javan is like the most bang out, like an absolute waste of a space.
Wild card.
Well, I got handed a little bit of humble pie this weekend.
Yeah, although Big Jim thought he got lucky with one of the penalties.
Big Jim has no idea what he's talking about.
He's usually the man behind pushing the. He's always he would know about legs getting in his way.
Right, okay.
No, I'm just why am I defending Jim Howland?
I know. No, do you think any of those 6 props have 6 props? Sorry, the 6 front rows. Do you think any of the obviously there's Turner's probably likely to go. Sutherland, Batty. I think there's debate around that whole section now. Who out of those 6 goes to the World Cup?
Sorry, my screen keeps freezing it there. Suz. Does Batty go? I don't know. Sorry, my screen's again going a bit dodgy.
Weird. Do you take 3 loose hits? Do
you take? I don't know. Or do you take 2 loosies and a floater, and 2 because you need 3 tight heads because it's quite specialist.
Yep.
Well, although like your floater would, I think, should be more of a specialist tight head.
Yeah.
It's all,
So Murphy Walker
no, I
would be your
think,
floater.
yeah.
There's not many that can play both sides. Murphy Walker and whisper it Ollie Kebble. Just saying.
There is that, yeah. Or Murray McCallum, but he's a wee bit out of form, I would say, or not playing at a high enough level to get there.
Yep.
No, Scoo, Suz, I think would be the loose head options. Just now.
I reckon so, yeah. And then tight heads, you're looking at Neil Fagerson.
And then
And
do you go with Walker as a floater?
You either go Walker or you go you go Javin.
Can he go Lucy? We need someone. I think we're going. Right, that's it. Neil, I'm sure Neil can do it. Multi-talented. He can go Lucy. You just need him to do 10 minutes.
Right. So enough of this nonsense. Let's talk.
This is why we need Craig for all this prop talk.
Aye. Yeah. It's no fun. Like it's just big guys pushing. Like there's no much to it really.
I do not support this view. Incidentally,
I'm
this
only
is
joking. Of course, I'm only joking. I'm not. I'm
viewer
clearly on
numbers
the white.
died.
I know they have, yeah, because we only appeal to props. Right, let's talk about some real skilled positions. Let's talk about scrum half. Ali Price, again, Scottish rugby fans in their classic wanton way have decided Ali Price is now the Greg Laidlaw of the Scottish rugby world. He is too slow. He is too fat. He does not box kick well enough. He makes too many mistakes. They want him put out to pasture. Where did you see Ali Price? Ali Price's performance, and is Jamie Dobby? Did he do enough to want another shot?
Price did not have his best game, but the thing is, it's like I said, the first 40 seconds he booted one out on the full. There was another one which was so close to being a great kick, but that's the thing, he set that first impression of this is going to be a bad Ali Price game, and he's not been at his best since the Lions. I think it's safe to say, and obviously George Horn has usurped him at Warriors as first choice number 9, and we all know this is a George Horn stan podcast. But otherwise, yes, he is. This thing we always go on about, this one's faster. This is the thing with Scottish scrum half. They've progressively got faster and faster, because Laidlaw was parked aside for Purgos, then Purgos, he got slow, then Purgos was parked aside for Price, and Price became too fast. Now Price is slow. This thing, Price went too fast, and Laidlaw had to come back in and steady the ship.
Yeah.
So there is a place for Price. But like I said, he's not been at his best, I think, for Glasgow or Scotland in the last wee while.
He's had
still
a poor season.
Good operator.
He's had a poor season.
But I think what this game was a test to see, is he good enough to be, I think, squad, but it's more of a, right, can you prove to me that you can be a genuine contender at Ben White for first choice 9? Because I think Ben White is the first choice 9 at the moment.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing. Like, I think that shows this weekend that White's coming in straight in at 9. I think Ben White is the first choice. I think what White offers, I guess the price debate is interesting, because I think what Ben White offers is almost the perfect balance between Ali Price and George Horn.
Yes,
the skills that both players have. I don't think Ben White is necessarily as good a box kicker or kicker as Ali Price, like in normal terms. I don't think he's as quick or as dynamic as George Horn, but he has that perfect balance between the two and offers so much around the park. It will be really interesting to see how he goes this weekend. Pardon me. But yeah, I think Price. So I think if depending how we go, right? Obviously, I had my madcap shout where we were taking 2 scrum halves. We're obviously going to take 3. I think Price still could be in trouble if Jamie Dobby gets a wee bit more game time. To be fair, I don't think Jamie Dobby was. I don't think he set the heather on fire when he came on either. His first pass in particular was absolutely like shocking level for international play, given that Jamie Dobby's skill set, his passing game is outrageously good normally. Yeah, I mean, I think for me that probably summarizes like the whole, almost the whole setup, that people just didn't necessarily put their hands up. They didn't push their chance. They made mistakes, like literally first ball mistakes that cost Scotland any momentum, but we still won comfortably in the end up.
Yeah, the scoreboard wasn't comfortable, but that was the thing. Like the points per 22 entry for both teams was abysmal, like really bad. I just that lack of cohesion, obviously. Without, there's my screen away again. Why does this keep doing this?
We're having technical
sure there's some kind of setting thing. Yeah, not a lot of attacking threat from 10, 12, 13. The thing is, Healy, as amazing his boot is, he's obviously very, very different to the incumbent, and also Adam Hastings, I would say. One thing, like, what would be interesting, I think, would be, I mean, Healy, Kinghorn, and Hastings.
Yeah.
We've seen Hastings do it a couple of times, like dropping back injury cover. They could all play 15.
Yeah.
Like Healy with that absolute cannon would be a pretty ideal 15.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I think Healy will go to the World Cup based on like versatility and stuff like that, and being able to cover 15. Let's talk about 15 before we move on to this weekend's game. Let's talk about 15, a position that has now opened up the fires of Scottish rugby hell, and has, Ollie Smith got a shot this weekend. For the France game, we've got Ben Kinghorn. Who's he? Blair Kinghorn. In at the 15 shirt.
Blair Kinghorn's BK10. This is Ben Kinghorn. It's BK15.
BK15, yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's got a different passport for this and everything. So Ollie Smith, how do you think Ollie went? And has he put his hand up enough to usurp the BK15?
No, but I think we do need a proper 15 going to the World Cup, because I don't think, like, Darcy's going, obviously, but we're talking about sort of versatile back threes.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to stick Doohan at 15, are you?
God almighty, I was sick in my mouth at the thought of it.
Yeah, or Kyle Steyn can't do that if he's going to go as a winger. So Smith, I think there was early doors. I thought there was a wee mistake he made. I can't remember it specifically, but he did do a couple of good recoveries. There was a nice wee nudge through in the second half, which Steyn nearly got to.
Yeah.
There was another good kick in the second half territorially. I think he's pretty sound defensively. Yeah, cause I think he's come on quite a long way, because the first couple of times he played for Warriors, when he came through at the same time as that other guy who doesn't play for the Warriors anymore, and we won't talk about him.
Yeah.
The other guy looked the one who was more suited to pro rugby. Smith looked to be a bit shaky, but Smith has definitely come on leaps and bounds. He looks like he's good enough to play Test rugby. Yeah. Is he the first choice? No, I think Kinghorn's. I said this a couple of weeks ago, or whatever. I think if it comes to it, I would put Kinghorn at 15, because Kinghorn is a very good rugby player. and now very versatile and experienced in a number of positions.
Yeah.
But I think 15 is the best spot for him, because that's where he, for years, a couple of years for Edinburgh, when he won like best player in the Pro 12 or best breakthrough, certainly, and was named in teams of the year. That's because he was doing excellent work from 15 as a sort of strike runner, and now with his increased game capabilities, experience on the wing playing for Scotland, where he scored 2 hat-tricks. I think
Yes.
only 2 or 3 men to do that.
Yeah, there's very
he's a
few.
good
Very
all-rounder.
few.
Yeah. And I think 15's his best spot, and I think he probably should start. It's going to take something special for Ollie Smith in his last couple of games, or a disaster from Blair Kinghorn in the next couple of games, to see that change by the start of the World Cup.
Well, we're almost there with Italy chat. Let's address. I probably further address this when going to Patreon, but let's speak about the Seagulls. And the Scottish rugby media has exploded with the absolute fun that was a seagull being on the park and having to be escorted from the park. Anyone who's ever met a seagull knows that he was clearly just being a bit of a Roman Plot. Some of the chat around the seagull has been quite ridiculous, and a bit tiresome. And I'm all for a wee bit of a laugh and a joke, but it's a bird on the pitch, mate. Like, it's not. Oh, sorry, I went full Eddie Jones there. It's a bird on the pitch,
It's bird on
mate.
the pitch, mate. Yeah. Thanks
Not
to me if you know nothing about birds on the pitch, mate. Yeah. I'll shoot your face.
Yeah, it was all just a bit ridiculous, wasn't it? Probably played into the nonsense that was an early doors first hit out.
Now, what I didn't understand was when it first landed on pitch, Scott Cummings nearly trampled it, and then there was a dropout to Italy, and it had been on the pitch for a while. Why didn't Ben O'Keefe just go, can somebody deal with that thing? Hold on, 2 seconds, boys. We need this thing off the pitch. Because, if it's not going to shift from 6'7" and 19 stone of lock charging at it, it's obviously not going to shift for a while. Some people thought it had
clearly got its thing sorted at this point. It knows where it wants to be.
It's camped in, but it needs to bolt before it gets hurt. And also, not like it could have. Imagine your World Cup dreams were ended because you had to hurtle over a seagull on the pitch, and when you land, your MCL goes, and that's you injured by a lazy seagull. I'll swear a lot about seagulls later, but they tend to poo on me quite a lot. And I'm not keen on them.
Horrible.
They're dreadful things. They were outside my window about an hour ago, squawking like the big rattling bastards they are. We think they smashed one of my roof tiles, which led to a leak for ages.
Yep.
I'm not a fan.
No.
And also, it's just not that funny. The number of times, like this, we get it sounds like Steven Seagal, right?
Yeah.
Steven Seagal. Oh, it's hilarious. No, it's not. That joke. I've been watching I'm 41 years old. I've been watching Steven Seagal movies for over 30 years. You don't think we noticed the pun ages ago?
Exactly.
There's 23 mentions of. I looked on the Scottish Rugby Forum for mentions of it just before he came on. 23, and we're just repeated the same jokes in like 4 days.
So
it's not funny. I'm sorry for being a killjoy. I'm not sorry. I'm a miserable sod. You all know this by now. But, right, make a joke about it. It was fine to begin with, but it's just people just saying the same jokes over again. Well, are you Ruck? Are you Ruck.co.uk? Is that what you are? You bunch of IP thieves.
The old IP thieves, indeed.
Right.
Let's talk about this weekend, because we've got some exciting stuff happening this weekend. Scotland they've named their team for France. They have went full noise. let's be honest. The full noise. We have got the return of Johan van der Merwe. We've got Blair Kinghorn at 15. We have got the front row, the big dogs. I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get the squad up in front of me because apparently I clicked that button and it didn't take me there. So we've got Kinghorn, we've got Darcy Graham, Johan van der Merwe. We've got the return of Hua Pilotu. We've got Ben White back. We've got Gray and Gilchrist. We've got Fagerson, Watson, Dempsey, which is almost my favourite back row. But the big news, Ian, of course, and I'll let you chat a wee bit about this whilst I go and double check what that horrible noise is through in the living room. Professional stuff here, guys. Finn Russell, persona non grata, recently enough, has been named as the new Scotland captain for this match. Go, I will be back soon.
Yes, Finn Russell is the captain, and I think it's an excellent choice. Now, I think we're all aware of the timeline of disarray between Townsend and Russell. I mean, it's when I was coming back from the Six Nations launch that I went down to London in 2020 when Hogg, I think that was probably Hogg's first captaincy series. Driving back up the road here, Russell's been omitted from the Scotland squad. Then there was the banning after the going out for a night out with Ali Price and that in 2021. Then omitted. Remember, he was the fourth choice Scotland standoff ahead of the Autumn Nation Test in 2022. Once Ross Thompson got injured, Gregor Townsend realised the error of his ways, brought him in, and Russell played out of his skin to cement himself as what we already knew as Scotland's premier fly half, not only of the now, but possibly of all time. And I'm absolutely delighted that Townsend has sort of seen the error of his ways, and he's put ego aside. I think because the tensions between them, there is that wee bit of ego clashes between them. But all it takes is just somebody to sort of stand down and go, you know what, maybe you do have a point. So Russell's coming in. The man is, like I said, probably now that Hogg has retired, I think this is truly the mantle passing of sort of the experienced go-to guy being the captain and the inspiration. That's now Finn Russell. We know what he can do. He can win matches single-handedly. And not only that, as he's gotten older, you can see he directs play not only in the attacking sense, but in defence. You see, hi, welcome back, John. I'm still going.
Sorry, I thought you could monologue for a wee bit of time.
I'm doing fine. No, I'm still going.
Still going.
All of the Finn Russell qualities. So at the moment, I've talked about what an inspiration he is to others around him when he plays well. He's now a tactician and a general. You see him even in defensive plays, he'll be pointing like, "Watch out for that quick line out. Do this. Go over there and do that." The guy has been playing at the top level, and then the very, very top level, for 8 years at least. And like I said, he's inspiration to others around him. I think he's calmness.
Yeah.
John Murray I said it's like the mantle had passed from Hogg as being the sort of figurehead, inspirational go-to guy. It's now definitely Russell. And I think that with this captaincy, what it does as well, I think with the two of them, when we talked about Hogg maybe being too passionate, in more ways than one, as a player, when he would snark at players, when he bumped into Matt Fagerson on Matt Fagerson's debut and had to
he gave him a pasting.
Finn Russell won't do that. Finn Russell will be a calming presence to those around him. He's not going to lose his rag. What referee is going to take unkindly to Finn Russell?
Exactly.
I think I said in the chat, the sort of group chat between us, it's a sort of Messi effect. You get people wanting to.
I like that. I like that suggestion because I think Finn Russell. I love the idea of Finn Russell as captain, which will come as no surprise to anyone. I just think he's such he's so deserving of it as well because he is our best player. He's actually been our best player probably since he came through, actually. And people argue Huggy. Russell's playing an absolutely crucial position and has consistently been way above everything he's playing around. I love Finn Russell as a person. I think he's an ideal captain, and I just actually hope that this is the start of, I think Jamie Ritchie's going to be the captain moving forward, and Finn Russell's been a vice captain for a long time. I really hope this is the sort of leadership that allows him to almost play on for a few more years as well. And
I like the fact he gave an interview recently, said like, this isn't my last dance. It's like he feels confident. I thought 2 World Cups maybe stretching it. But yeah, because he said, the way Hoggy played was always like full pelt, burst yourself. He never took breaks, even after Scotland got canned at the World Cup in 2019. He was in the Exeter lineup the next week. Yeah. Whereas Finn isn't. I mean, I don't think it's. He probably gets hit more often than Stuart Hogg, but maybe he's got a bit more padding around him. It's one thing for and he knows how to take it, and he doesn't like burst himself. And he takes when he's injured, he does his rehab properly, and he takes his time. And he certainly didn't start as young Stuart Hogg. Not at the.
That is a difference, and we've actually seen that in other sports as well. And I know, Ian, we've obviously talked multiple times about tennis, and we're both very keen tennis fans. And the one that always sticks for me is Rafa Nadal, who burst onto the scene age 18. Was this muscular, big brute of a boy, age 18, and has had injury problems throughout his career, and there's been medical papers written about Rafa Nadal, and that impact of weight training and full contact training at a young age, because your body, even at age 18, your body's not fully developed. So for Stuart Hogg to be a professional rugby player, I mean, he played a full season of Premiership rugby at 17. And was a professional rugby player, like an international rugby player at 19, and a British and Irish Lion at 20. Like, there is going to be a toll in your body. There is going to be an impact. Finn Russell was a stonemason. And in his own admission, he was a pretty lazy stonemason. He wasn't busting his cell quite as much. So I think there is something about, we always talk about if you're good enough, if you're younger, if you're good enough, you're old enough. But actually, there's a duty of care to these players that actually I think we should be continuing down the route of making sure we protect players, because you're going to, those years. If you've got all that experience, if you've got 10 years of international experience, age 30, but your body's broken, you're not actually of any use. Whereas if you are, you've still got a bit of life in you. Finn Russell's got a lot of life in him, but he's got all that experience and all that game management now. It's so important, I think, to manage players' careers properly.
Oh yeah, because we all know it's an attritional sport. It's like getting smacked by a Fiat 500 every tackle,
every tackle,
time. Yeah. I mean, I don't fancy doing that 40 times a day.
No, ideally not.
But like you're saying with the whole, obviously when you're sort of 18 years old, you've not fully developed. There's still structural, physiological changes going on. Yep. I think maybe we're hopefully getting more attuned to that, or maybe Hogg's just pushed himself too much. I always remember listening to one Warriors podcast about Finn Russell was Graham Morrison was talking about Finn Russell and Rob
Yeah.
Harley coming out through at the same time. He's like, you couldn't have seen two different folk.
Yeah.
Like Rob Harley's Mr. Professional. Oh, I'm going to do this. And he's like, yeah, walk in the gym. They've all got like weightlifting regimes,
Yeah.
and I was sent in to kind of keep an eye on them. This Finn Russell was meant to be doing bark or whatever. He's just in the corner dancing. Then it comes to game time, you're like, he's like, who is this Joker? But then it comes to the game, it's like, all right, the Joker's got some, got a hand to play.
Joker got some moves.
He's going to play the Joker card. Yeah, so maybe that more relaxed attitude will keep him in good stead. We'll see how it goes.
I think
obviously, I never want him to retire. I want him to have like Zlatan going to like 41 years old. But I don't think it's realistic.
If Finn wants to play a World Cup in the 2040s, I'm in for that.
He'd be like deep line playmaker. It's like
Yeah,
right. I'll leave the line. One of you lot can hold the line. I'll just sit back here.
One of you plebs can deal with this. I've got this. Just spin it back to me. I'll do a wee Finn Russell thing. I'll fake it and then I'll throw a 40-meter pass off my weak hand because I can.
Yeah.
But like Georgie Hadji.
Hail Mary boot pass, just swerving back into Duhan's hands.
Yeah, when Hadji was running the show at Galatasaray at like 40, it'll be like that. So
or Pirlo. No Pirlo, no party.
Exactly. More, yeah. Right. So let's talk about the team though quickly. It is a full noise team.
It's full noise.
It's full noise, isn't it? So it's Schumann. On you go.
No, sorry. So you're about to go. I was like, is Turner starting a hooker?
No, so it's Schumann, Ashman, Xander Fagerson, Gray Gilchrist, Matt Fagerson, Watson Dempsey, White, Russell, Van der Merwe, Huapolotu, Graham, and Kinghorn. Replacements are Dave Cherry, Jamie Batty, Nell, Cummings, Darge, Horn, Redpath, and Ollie Smith. That is a full noise team, and we will. The French team that they've put out isn't, right? So for me, we are expecting a massive step up in performance, and this is a game Scotland should win.
Yes, but I think we should write off the French at our peril because they have strength and depth, and let's not forget, even though you go, it's their second choice 9, yeah, but the current number 9 is the best rugby player in the world and is one of the best rugby players that I think I've ever seen. He's quite
good, isn't he?
He's quite the talent, yeah. They are a solid outfit. Excuse me while I clear my throat there. I don't think we should be overconfident at all. But this is full noise Scotland. We expect to see a cohesive attacking unit, certainly, with the maestro pulling the strings, and the same level of intensity in defence that we showed at the weekend. So that's like the Tandy D model has proven to be pretty useful.
Yeah.
Sorry, my headphones are falling off as well now. The lock options, Gray Gilco. That's a tried and tested combo. The one thing with that, it used to be there's always going to be a Gray that's going to be first choice, but it used to be Gray Cummings. But I think, with Richie Gray, and Grant Gilchrist, we saw how badly Scotland's line-out suffered when Richie Gray went off against Ireland, even when they had Van der Fleer chucking the ball. Yeah. Well, why didn't we attack that ball more often? That's just mental. Richie Gray would have been all over that. Not only is he a line-out menace, but Gray's I think this is another possible example of somebody who has. We know he's had a wretched time with injuries.
Yep.
But locks can play until they're up to like 37, 38.
37, 38, yeah, comfortably.
And a lot of them have not had time off with injuries. This is one of these occasions where maybe having that time off with injuries doing lots of rehab, being physically fit. We've had Johnny Beattie saying that Gray is
as fit
a
as
monster.
he's ever been. Yeah,
He says he's an absolute cardio monster. Like when you do training sessions at Toulon, go back and do like 1,000-meter times on the road machine, which would get you placed in national finals.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So the thing with Richie Gray and Gilchrist, there's so much meat in there, and I think that is vital against Ireland and South Africa.
Yeah,
there's so much heft in there, and against France, like France are the same. Obviously, this is Wokey, not the biggest lad. He sometimes plays at 6, but these packs, this is where Scotland suffer, is about Jim Hamilton's physicality. So much meat in there with Gilchrist and Gray. You combined height of like 14 feet. God knows how many kilograms. So this is thing like we've always struggled in this area, and this is where it's key. And this is games like this where we find out what the best combo in that engine room is. And thankfully, again, now we seem to be graced with talent there, because possibly Johnny Gray's at risk of not making a World Cup squad.
Not going to the World Cup. Yeah,
four locks: Richie, Scott Cummings, Gil Cole, Sam Skinner, or Johnny Gray.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, we're in a situation where Johnny Gray was undroppable 2 seasons ago, and I think actually
the 5 years he was undroppable.
Yeah, well, yeah. The Renaissance, if you will, has probably changed a lot of that, because I'm so glad I got that in there.
Great term.
Oh, wow.
Portmanteau.
Richie is, for me, Richie Gray's always been one of our. Actually, I thought he was one of our biggest losses for years. Like, the raw talent that guy had.
Baller. Absolute baller.
Yeah, and he's a different player to Johnny. He's a very different player, but his skill set is something Scottish locks tend not to have. Because he is, like, you just have to look at the try against England in the Six Nations, the other try, not the Duhan one. And you just look, and the number of times you've seen Richie Gray do this, but the soft hands, the take and give, he passes like a centre.
Johnny Gray's got a good pass as well, but
he does actually. Yeah. He's a great link player. He's normally in and out the back door, but Richie is a take and give, and he delivered like a pass that would be worthy of an international centre against England. But we always concentrate on the line out work, the physicality that he's bringing now, forgetting, of course, that actually he is a very good around the park player. He's very good. So, I think you're absolutely right. Johnny Gray might be in trouble. So we're conscious of time here. So this weekend, what are you hoping to see? What do we need to see from Scotland, and does it actually matter?
The only thing that matters is nobody getting injured. For me, no, we want, obviously, with the team France have put out, we need to not be, even if we get beaten, not be overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Because if we get scudded by second choice France, what's going to happen when the first choice come along? That'll be a massive dent in confidence.
Mm-hmm.
But we've shown against France, I mean, that last Six Nations game, when it looked like we were about to get scudded, then pulled it back magnificently, or like so Scottishly. It's like so brave and yet so far away. The importance here is to see a good, fluid performance. Hopefully victory, but the result doesn't matter. I just think good performance, good combinations, seeing set pieces work off, set plays work off, and maybe just like the final little thing not clicking. That for me is about it.
Yeah. I think, I think for Scotland fans' perspective, I think we just need to see a more cohesive performance. Absolutely what you said. And yeah, I think there is an element of this is full noise. So they do need to put on a performance, or else the rest of Scotland are going to join me in the World Cup's pointless, and we should even be going like brigades, because
Replace us with Georgia.
yeah, exactly. Well, and kick Wales out as well while we're at it. Right, so we'll call it that. We're going to head over to Patreon now. So if you're not part of the Patreon, where are you? Let's be having you. We will be back next week. I don't know who'll be back, because we're still kind of, it's pre-season really. We are flapping about a wee bit just to get some pods out, but we will be back next week to chat about the France game. There will be obviously the standard content plus some Patreon. I'm sure we've got Bandersnatch to play at some point as well, so that'll be happening before the World Cup. But
Banderscotch.
I guess Banderscotch, not
we don't get accused of misrepresentation again, John.
Well,
we've had enough bother with that already today.
We have, and I'm very stressed about it. But I guess for now, if you're not joining us on Patreon, it is goodbye from me, and goodbye from Brother Hare.
From Brother Hare? What?
Brother Hare.
Anyway, on that bombshell. Oh God, that's Jeremy Clark. Oh Christ! Edit this bit out. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Yeah, bye. Now do the thing where you have to turn off the non-Patreons.
I'm doing it.
And we just, I'll just freeze.
Free.